What's up, everybody? I'm Clayton. This is my movie review channel, and today we're going to be taking a look at Tenet, released in 2020, written and directed by Christopher Nolan, starring John David Washington, Robert Pattinson, Elizabeth Debicki, and Kenneth Branagh. I apologize in advance that it's taken me this long to release Tenet. I had gone on a vacation, so I was out of commission for a while. We had family over, so it's just been a little bit of a crazy schedule the past few weeks. But hopefully, I will be able to knock out a Oppenheimer review. I have seen Oppenheimer, so I will be getting a review of that released hopefully shortly. And then we will conclude our Nolan series by doing a Nolan ranking video where I will go in and rank all 12 films by Christopher Nolan. So stay tuned for those videos as well. But today we have Tenet on the schedule. So let's talk some Tenet. As always, we start with the positives, go to the negatives, break down the film. I give my thoughts, my review, my rating of the film. And just as a reminder, this is my personal opinion on this film. It does not make it concrete. It does not make it have to be your opinion. If you feel differently about this film, that's totally fine. That's the subjectivity of film. All right, so these are my thoughts and opinion on Tenet. So starting first with the positive of Tenet, I really like a lot about this movie. I saw this movie in theaters. I saw it a couple times in theaters. I saw it again when it was out of theaters, and then I saw it recently for this review. And each time I've watched this movie, I've enjoyed it more with every viewing. So and I love that about films, when you can go back to a film multiple times and either have a better viewing experience each time or have the same level of viewing experience that's really, really high with a film. So the viewing experience doesn't decrease with the film. And that's the kind of movies that I love. And Tenet is certainly one of those movies for me. The writing here, I think, is a very strong positive for me. I like the story that Nolan tells here. Essentially a story about survival and hope and faith. If, just having faith that you can make it through the hard times in your life, persevering through the difficult times in your life. If you keep that hope and you keep that faith, you keep persevering, taking it one day at a time, eventually, there is going to be light at the end of the tunnel, and pasture will be greener on the other side. So, and we see the characters have to deal with that. We see John David Washington have to deal with that. His character is the protagonist. Kind of, he's got to throw himself into this fray and find a way to keep pushing through this time barrier and keep fighting through to the end, both for himself, for his partner, and for this lady that he obviously cares a great deal about, and really to save the world, because the world is at stake in this film. So this is another movie that has a global threat looming over it by Nolan. Nolan has had a few films where there's a global threat or a very massive threat in the plot of the film. Interstellar had a similar one. Even The Dark Knight Rises wasn't a global threat, but it was still a large scale threat in that one as well. So John David Washington in this film, who I think does a great job in this movie, he's got to deal with perseverance. He's got to deal with having faith that this is going to work out, having faith in his partner, having faith in the Bicky's character, that she's going to do her part in this whole plot of the film. I like the writing here. This is a film that has something to say in the writing department. And it's a story to me that's worth pursuing, worth following, and I'm invested in that story. So I like the writing here. I think the script is actually very well written, very clean script as far as like plot holes here. There's not really any major plot holes that bother me. I always talk about viewing experiences and how you may be able to recognize objective flaws in a film, but not be bothered by them, and still rate the movie very high, not because the film is flawless, but because that's your viewing experience with the film. So that's how I rate my movies, is based on my own viewing experience and how much I enjoyed the film. Did the flaws with the film bother my viewing experience? Did they affect my viewing experience? And for me, nothing in the writing here bothered me. I think the script is very well written, very tight, very flushed out, makes sense. I know a lot of people had problems trying to figure this film out. I think they were overthinking it, because it's Nolan. I think they felt like they have to be so in tune with the film, and you do have to be an active viewer here, but I feel like a lot of people have overcomplicated this film. I don't think it's so extreme in the complexity of the script that you just can't even understand it or follow it. I was able to follow it the first time I saw it, and I've been able to follow it even better upon each viewing. So yeah, it's just, you got to be an active viewer, which again is just a trademark about Nolan and the way that he makes his films. You can't be a passive viewer. You have to be active. You have to be an active viewer. You have to be paying attention to the film, and I love that about him. So really strong in the writing department. I think the directing is fantastic. The score is by Ludwig is incredible. Sounds very similar to a Hans Zimmer type of script, even though Hans Zimmer was not involved in the script. It sounds a lot like a Zimmer score. It's very effective. I always talk about the effectiveness of a score. This is a very effective score. I love the cinematography here. I think it's shot beautifully. I love the compositions, the hues, the angles, the way that Nolan shoots this film is very, very good. The visual effects are incredible. The set pieces, incredible. The editing, man, I know I say this a lot, but upon watching this movie again, I do think this may be Nolan's best edited film. The editing is just so good. I mean, all the way that this film is edited is it's very difficult. It's very difficult to edit this film, to take all these shots, to mesh them together, to make the cuts smooth, to make the transitions smooth, to piece the film together and edit it the way it's structured. It's difficult, and yet it's pulled off to perfection. So yeah, the editing here may be the very best that Nolan's brought so far to his films. So yeah, no real quarrels in the directing for me. Everything's very effective, and then in the acting, I think the performances are very good. I think John David Washington does a really good job here. I've heard some people be a little critical about his performance. I wasn't bothered by his performance. I thought he delivered, and he was, absolutely fine and brilliant in the film. Was he as good as some of Nolan's other leading roles or performances? No. But was he bad, or did he negatively affect the film? I don't think he did at all. I think he gave a very solid, strong performance, and I liked him in this film. Robert Pattinson, brilliant actor, did a great job in this film as well. I just think he's an underrated actor. I think he's absolutely brilliant in the things that I've seen him in, and this one is no exception. So, excuse me, he does a great job. I think Elizabeth Debicki does a really good job here as well. I think she's kind of the heartbeat to this film. I think she adds an emotional layer here to the film that the film needs. Um, and for a supporting actress, I think she does a really good job. I think that's one thing that I've seen, and I would probably agree with to an extent. A criticism about Nolan is his casting of female actresses in his films aren't usually that great. This one, I think he nails. I think Debicki is fantastic in this film. I think she gives a very genuine and very believable performance in Tenet, and I'm really on board with her performance. I buy it. I'm invested in her as a character. I care about her as a character. I want her to be able to get free from her you know the reins of her husband, uh, just who's just this quintessential a hole, and just this jerk and guy that you really just can't wait to see get it. So yeah, I think she does a really good job in her performance. Was really impressed by her, and then Kenneth Branagh as the antagonist in this film, whew, does a fantastic job, man. Just nails it. He again a great actor, and you see him in the different roles and what he can bring to different roles. He's got a wide range. He's got a great range for an actor. He can play a number of different types of characters and performances, and I think he does a great job here. Kind of this stone cold presence. You don't really see many layers to him, but then when he does click, man, he's intense, and he brings it. So yeah, really liked him in the film as well. So great acting across the board by everybody. Really enjoyed it. Good stuff. As far as negatives, don't really have any. I don't really have any negatives with Tenet. This is, subjectively speaking, a perfect film. I don't have any problems with this film. There's nothing in Tenet that I would change. There's nothing in this film that negatively affects my viewing experience. This is a 5-star masterpiece for me. I give this film 5 stars. I think it's absolutely brilliant. It just gets better upon every watch, which is why, again, I can't wait to watch. I can't wait for the next time I watch this movie, because it's just, the action is incredible, the pacing is good, the script, the characters, the directing is all there, and I don't have any problems with Tenet. So no negatives for me, guys. This is subjectively a perfect film. 5 stars. I think it's one of Nolan's best films of his career. Loved it the first time I saw it in theaters. Was blasted, and then I've just enjoyed it more and more each time. So the characters here again are another positive for me. I don't think I really mentioned or talked about the characters. I love the characters themselves. I always say I'm about character and story. Those are the two things that mean the most to me in a film. the characters in the film, and what's the story of the film. Is the story worth following? Does the story have something to say to me? And are the characters likable characters? Are they entertaining characters? Are they characters that I'm invested in? And I think Tenet has both. It's got a great story that's worth investing in, that has something to say, and it's got characters in that story that I'm entertained by and that I enjoy watching. So yeah, I think the characters here are really strong, and the pacing. It's like a 2.5 hour film. I don't think it quite feels 2.5 hours. I think the pacing is really good, and I do think that there's some levity in this film as well. I think that it's a film that there is a lot of exposition to it, but it's exposition with movement. It's exposition that is showing you while telling you. It's not just an exposition dump with nothing going on around it. It's exposition with movement. So yes, there is a lot going on, a lot being said, a lot of explaining things, but you're seeing what's going on as the exposition is there, if that makes sense. So it's, to me, the too much exposition criticism of this film doesn't really hold up to me, because it would be different if it's just exposition with nothing happening, but that's not what's going on. It's exposition with movement, and it's meaningful exposition. It's exposition that you need for the story, for the script, to as things are getting unfolded all the way to the end. There's nothing here that's really wasted. So again, it's all subjective, but for me, that doesn't bother me. I think there is levity in this film where there are times that I actually laugh. There are genuinely funny moments in this film that that land for me. The humor works for me in Tenet, and that's another thing I enjoyed, is that in movies like this that have a lot of exposition and a lot of movement going on, you do need some levity there to kind of let things settle a little bit, and give you some laughs along the way. And to me, that was there. So the humor landed and worked for me. The the movement, the pacing was excellent to me. So yeah, 5-star film. Love Tenet, one of Nolan's best. And yeah, those are my thoughts on Tenet. Let me know your thoughts on the film in the comment section. What would you rate this film? Do you think it's one of Nolan's best? Do you think it's one of Nolan's worst? Let me know in the comment section. Please like and subscribe. And as always, until next time, rock on.